Great. Welcome to my inspirational webinar on the UK Global Talent Tech Visa. Today I'd like to talk about, obviously, introduce myself. I'll talk about the Technation visa announcement as well, which you must have heard about, and I'll clarify some issues and answer some questions. I'll just go through what the UK Global Talent Visa is, the stage 1 application and process, and hopefully Chandni will come on today and we'll interview her, and then you can ask her questions as well. So just a little bit about myself, if I haven't spoken to you, my name is Michelle Hewer. I'm Vietnamese Australian, and I'm a UK Global Talent Visa coach. Now, in 2016, I received my Exceptional Talent endorsement because I was a tech entrepreneur running my startup from the UK, and I was one of the top 50 that received the visa because it only just started around that time as well, and no one really knew about it. So I became the Technation Visa Ambassador, and I was the ambassador for a good 3 years, telling people how to get it. I shared my story. I was, well connected with the alumni and the community as well. So that's what kickstarted me being a coach after all these years. I was there from the very beginning. The great thing about the Global Talent Visa is that it gives you the settlement. So in 2019, 3 years, I received my indefinite leave to remain. And then I got my British citizenship as a result. And that process was quite easy, actually. The Global Talent Visa endorsement, was the most difficult part of the process, but then everything else kind of, clicked into place. It was quite, it was the least stressful part of the process, was the indefinite leave to remain and citizenship. I spent 7 years in the UK. I based myself in Manchester and Newcastle, and I travelled down to London a lot during the time, during the 7 years, because I was running my startup. And all 3 tech ecosystems were amazing. The reason is because, and a bit of advice if you're in any kind of tech ecosystem, is you get out of whatever it is that you put in. So I put in a lot into my community, and as a result, I received so much benefit from them, and everyone is so helpful. It's a very collegial environment, and really enjoyed all the tech ecosystems that I joined in Manchester, London, and Newcastle. Before I became a tech entrepreneur, I was a solicitor from Australia. I was a commercial property law solicitor and did that, and got bitten by the startup tech entrepreneurship bug. And I did that. I started my wearable tech startup in the UK after winning a hackathon. And that was really exciting times then. How this journey all came about me being a Global Talent Visa coach, was I actually wrote about my journey when I received it, because no one really knew about it. I did it myself. It was very new then. So I wrote a blog about my journey. That blog went viral, and that's how I became, a coach and helped lots of people, because of sharing my own story and, how hard and difficult it is. I've coached over 1,000 tech entrepreneurs, senior execs, and tech employees. So I've had, quite a number of people that I've helped, all from different, companies, countries, different positions and roles. My success rate is 90%. Some of my clients have received their result within 3 to 27 hours. And that is massive. Like, imagine submitting and then, in 3 hours you get a response. The average is about 3 to 4 weeks, but I'll talk about that in a sec. Some of my clients have been from WhatsApp, Sony, LinkedIn, Facebook or Meta, Google, Zoom, Oracle. I help startups, CTOs, CEOs, UX designers, the list goes on. And this is why I love what I do. I help so many different types of people. It's very varied. Everyone has a unique story. And I like to help share that unique story to build your evidence and craft that story for you, because someone has to read this, your application, and it ends up being about 80 pages. Everything has to be articulated in the right way, using the right language, and just so that you can put forward a really strong application as well, so that someone is looking at your application and really excited about what you've done and what you're going to do in the UK. Just a quick disclaimer, I only help with stage 1 endorsements. I don't help with stage 2. That is a Home Office visa application stage. But essentially, once you've got the stage 1, it really just goes through checks. to go through to stage 2, really. I did it myself when I applied for my global talent visa as well. I'm not an immigration solicitor. You can seek immigration advice separately, but I've got referrals as well. So if you've got any immigration questions, I can refer you. Over the years, as I said, I've immersed myself in all different tech ecosystems. This is the type of thing that they're looking for in the mandatory criteria leadership, is they want to see your thought leadership in your space, not only within the company that you work for. And that's a given, because you get paid to do what you do and to show leadership within your company, through product leadership, through, leading teams or help growing the company. But here, they also want to see what you've done for your tech sector or for your tech community. And this is the type of evidence that I provided in my application. So here is my blog. You can read it on my website. It's about how I started and how I got the endorsement as well. So that was just around the announcement of Brexit. So it was very, very interesting times then, but I was so glad that I received it anyway, and went on to get settlement. So these are some of my clients. As I said, they're from all different tech companies or, independent tech entrepreneurs and employees from lots of different companies. So it helped loads of different people. And these are the ones that have shared their story on YouTube. Not everyone wants to share their story, which is absolutely fine, but it does really help, because everyone, as I said, has a different story. And even when I applied, I didn't have anyone to ask. I didn't have any stories to go on. I had to create it myself. So I know the importance of sharing your story, especially once you receive it, because other people are going through the same. And also, as you can probably see and read, the guidelines are extremely intimidating. No one ever thinks that they are an exceptionally talented leader in tech. I went through that myself, but you have to do it, and it's great to have some support and reassurance that, if these people can do it, you can as well. So quickly, just about the Tech Nation statement, I hope you do know that Tech Nation did announce that they were going to cease to exist. However, the visa was always going to continue, because it's such a big part of the tech sector. The Global Talent Visa is extremely competitive, but also very popular. There are lots of different global talent visas in different sectors, such as tech, science, engineering, arts, culture, fashion. So they were never going to get rid of it, especially the digital tech one. So the Tech Nation statement is that they haven't ceased to exist. The Founders Forum have now taken over Tech Nation, and they are continuing to process the global talent visas in digital technology. So everything remains the same. Continue with your applications. Everyone keeps saying that it's disappeared. It hasn't, and it won't. It may have a different endorsing body, but they haven't announced anything. Everything is remaining status quo. So if you're still worried, just proceed as normal. There's no need to worry until they announce something, and it's been months and nothing's happened really. So just continue on. So what is the Global Talent Visa? It used to be called the Exceptional Talent Visa, which is what I got, but it's still the same thing. It's a special visa that was introduced to allow highly skilled tech entrepreneurs and talent the ability and the right to apply for to live and work in the UK for up to 5 years. It's a 2-stage process. So the first stage is you have to be endorsed by Tech Nation, and once you're endorsed, you can apply for the visa. Now, the endorsement stage, you need to fulfill strict criteria that's set by Tech Nation, and only then can you apply for the visa once you're endorsed. Even though it looks like a job application and you do provide examples of your job and the things that you've done in your job, it's more than that. As I said about the thought leadership stuff, they want to know what else have you done outside of your job to benefit the tech sector that you're in. When I applied, and I don't know if this is still on, but if you research hashtag Tech Nation Visa, because it's specific to the digital technology route, because as I said, there's lots of other endorsing bodies, Tech Nation Visa is the one for the digital tech sector. The benefits are huge. It gives you the freedom and flexibility to live and work in the UK for up to 5 years. And you can apply for indefinite leave to remain in citizenship. And if those who have a skilled worker visa, they can also switch to the global talent visa, which I've helped a lot of people who are already in the UK. They have their own visas under skilled tier 2. And the time in the UK under that visa counts towards the global talent. And I think that's really important. I was on an entrepreneur's visa before I got the global talent, and that was expiring. And my only option was to apply for the global talent. And the great thing about that also was that my time spent under my entrepreneur's visa counted towards my global talent. And I'll explain why in a sec. So that was really important for me to know that, you know, time counts. It's horrible when you're, you know, living in a country where time doesn't count, and, you know, getting settlement and citizenship it feels so far away, but if it does count, then it's highly beneficial. You can also bring your dependents with you, so your family can come with you under this visa, and you can register a limited company, which is really important, especially for students who I help with the exceptional promise route, because when they're on a student visa, they can't really start their own company because of their visa restrictions. So I've helped students, and then they've switched to the global talent, and then they can start their own startups, but also be a student as well. You can also work for a tech company without the need for a company sponsorship. So this is where that skilled worker visa comes into play, where, you know, as I said, a lot of my clients are on the skilled worker, but they can't do anything else as well. So because they're attached to their company, even if they want to leave their company, you know, they can't unless they have another visa. But the global talent visa allows them that flexibility. Because I was a tech entrepreneur, I had the global talent visa. I wanted a break from my startup. So I then worked for a university, and then I worked for an accelerator, and the visa was no issue because the visa was attached to me, and I didn't have to worry about, you know, them sponsoring me or anything. I was free to work in the UK anywhere I wanted. And then I went back to my startup as well. So it gave me so much flexibility. It's also cost effective. The stage 1 endorsement process, or the application fee, is in the hundreds. It's only when you go to the stage 2 visa application stage that it is a little bit more expensive, only because, not because of the application fee. The application fee is only like 156 for the stage 2 visa. It's the immigration health surcharge that is expensive, but everyone has to pay that. It's the health one where, you know, if you get sick, you pay their national health insurance. So it's like you're actually paying for a health benefit or service. So that's okay. Just quickly, some of the stats, you know, there are a lot of people who apply from USA, India, Nigeria, Canada, and Russia. There's a 54% endorsement rate, which isn't great. That means 1 in 2 applications are unsuccessful. There's been over about 3,000 plus successful recipients over the years. I think the main reason is because when I applied, there was a cap in endorsements. Only 200 were able to be endorsed per year, and that's not a lot. And I think that's why there's not many people who receive the endorsement as well. Only in the last 2 years that they've got rid of that cap. So anyone who applies can potentially be endorsed, so long as you fulfill the criteria. So you don't have to worry about the cap and everything. There's a 68-32% those who apply for talent and promise. 75-25 for male and female, just because the tech sector is more male dominated, but I help a lot of females, and I encourage and advocate more women in tech. And once you are endorsed and get your visa, you can join the Tech Nation Visa Alumni, which I'm a part of. And it's a London community. They host regular meetups, so you can meet other people. We have a Slack channel as well. So if you've got any questions about anything, there's a support group and community there. So just some stats here. They, as you can see over the years, you know, it's grown. And I think the more people talk about it, the more people know about it. So, you know, I applied in 2016. There's no many stats there, but I was in the top 50. But as you can see, in the last few years, they've really increased. There was a huge spike in obviously more recently because of the announcement by Tech Nation, even though they weren't going, you know, to go away. But there were, you know, 2,850 applications last year. The time starts from 1st of April to the 31st of March. That's the Tech Nation year. So this year, from 1st of April, 677 applications have been submitted, which is a lot in 3 months. There has been a backlog in assessing applications, but hopefully they will reduce, or they will go through that backlog a lot quicker, because the Tech Nation announcement kind of scared everyone to submit straight away. So just, keep proceeding and they'll get through them, because 80%, they have to clear or endorse or review 80% of applications within 25 working days. And then they have to clear 100% of applications within 8 weeks. So there's an 8-week decision time. Okay. During COVID, from COVID to before the announcement, the average waiting time was about 3 to 4 weeks. So they're just some of the stats that I've noticed over the few years. So there was a Tech Nation visa report in 2020. These are the countries by endorsement. As you can see, Nigeria, India, Pakistan, Turkey, they have a lower endorsement rate as opposed to the other people from different countries. These are just stats. Don't be, put off by them, but these are just what's come out. I do help a lot of people from Nigeria, India, Pakistan, because obviously the stats say that it's harder to be endorsed from those countries. I think, it's just a matter of trying to articulate what you need to say, follow the guidelines, and making sure that you have someone to help you, support you through that process. You're doing it for the first time. I've done loads. I see common threads, and I've seen assessors' responses, so I know what to look for, and I know the guidelines are so overwhelming. So this is why I do what I do. There's also skills, this is a tech visa, so obviously software engineers, those with a technical skill, data scientists, solution architects, they're being endorsed, but this visa is for people with business skills as well. So you can see people with biz dev and marketing, UX designers and that. So they're still getting endorsed as well. So as I said, there's a 2-stage process to this, and I'm reassuring you that the Tech Nation visa or the Global Talent Visa in digital technology is not going to go away. You can see the stats here. Tech Nation or the digital tech visa route is a very highly sought after route, so it's not going to go away. You can see that over on the visa applications, they're in the top. That's compared to the other endorsing bodies, they're being applied for the most. So don't worry too much there. So just quickly, you have to be working for, have examples in your application that you've worked for a product-led digital technology company. They want those who are building products for their companies to apply and to give examples from. So these are defined as businesses that provide a proprietary digital technical service product platform hardware as their primary revenue source. And this is one thing that, if you work for a company, the first thing you have to prove is it is a product-led digital technology company. There are so many companies out there, and the assessors, if you don't explain that it is, the assessors, you cannot assume that the assessors will know this. So that's the first thing. And because it's a definition of it, you need to establish that for them. You have to do their work for them, or you need to prove that. So if you work for or are a founder of a product-led or a digital tech company that develops its own products for customers by license, subscription, or selling, then that's fine. They don't want anyone who are working for consultancies or outsourcers to apply. They're not eligible. So the application process is 15 documents. It consists of your CV, personal statement, and 3 letters of recommendations by experts. And then the remaining 10 documents are to fulfill the mandatory and optional criteria. Okay, it sounds like a lot, and it is, but also the complexity is there's a storytelling aspect to this, and all your documents need to tell a story, all your documents need to relate, and all your experts need to corroborate with your story as well. So, it's a whole application that needs a lot of attention and care. So the eligibility requirements, you can have a technical or business skill. And I think the great thing about this visa is that it's not just about people with hardcore tech skills. It's for people with business skills as well, who help with selling, growing, investing in companies as well, tech companies. So that's a great, I think that opens up a lot of doors for people. I help a lot of people with both technical and business skills, but the people with business skills, they work for tech companies. So there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to apply. You can be an employee or founder, it doesn't matter. The one thing that you're not eligible, people who work for consultancies, outsourcers, junior investors, anyone who works for agencies, they're not eligible to apply. So I can help with eligibility if you want to fill out my eligibility questionnaire on the website. There's 2 categories in which you can apply for: a talent or promise. Talent are those who have more than 5 years experience. Promise are for those who have less than 5 years experience. If you have 8 years experience and you want to go for promise, no, you need to go for talent. So don't try and be cheeky in that regard. The danger of doing that is if you have 8 years experience and your evidence doesn't show that you are an exceptionally talented leader, the assessor is going to assess you under talent, and then you probably won't be endorsed. So go for the right category and then try and work towards that. So there's the criteria. You can go for talent or promise. As I said, the difference is that if you go for talent, in 3 years, you can apply for indefinite leave to remain. If you apply for promise, you have to wait for 5 years before you can apply for indefinite leave to remain. There's 5 criteria, of which you choose 3. One is mandatory, which is the leadership criteria. That's the most important. And this is the one where a lot of people struggle with, and that's where I help most with. The other 4 optional criteria are these, and you choose 2 out of 4. So the first one is you need to show innovation. The second one is you can choose that you've done some volunteer work or proof of recognition outside of your immediate occupation that advances the digital tech sector. So all the outside work that you do outside of your day-to-day job. If you can show any commercial, technical, entrepreneurial impact or contributions to the job that you worked at, or if you can have any academic contributions. Not many people choose academic contributions, only those sort of in the research field. I chose that one because I worked with a university in building my innovative heated glove. So I used some letters from professors in that, but I also chose the leadership one, and I chose this one as well. So these criteria had changed over the years, but they're basically the same, but it's just some of them weren't in the mandatory and some were in the optional, but these are what they are now. So the process, there's 2 steps, okay, in stage 1. I help with stage 1, which is the endorsement stage. The first step is you pay and register online at the Home Office. It's £456. And then you've got 15 working days to then upload your documents onto the Tech Nation portal. And that's where all your, 15 documents go into. They have up to 8 weeks to respond to you. So Tech Nation will review your application, your 80-page application, and come back to you. They will say whether or not the Home Office comes back to you to tell you whether or not you're successful or unsuccessful. If you are unsuccessful, you can appeal the decision. You've got 28 calendar days to appeal, and they've got 28 calendar days to come back to you. Okay. And again, it goes back to a different assessor. They will assess your appeal and your application, and then they'll tell you whether or not you're successful or unsuccessful. If you are successful, and this is either if you appeal or not, you can then go to stage 2. There's a letter that says, yes, you are endorsed under talent or promise. You can proceed to stage 2. And this is that legal stage I was talking about. So you've got 3 months from your endorsement letter to apply for stage 2. It's £152, but then you've got to do your biometrics. And again, that immigration health surcharge, which is the more expensive one. So you can apply for, a 3, 4, or 5 year visa and pay for the immigration health surcharge upfront. And that takes about 3 to 8 weeks as well. So, it can take a number of weeks. I think the longest time is the preparation. So preparing your documents for stage 1 would probably take the longest because, there's 15 documents and you need people to help you and sign it and all the rest of it. And you've got your full-time job as well. And then you've got to think about the endorsement stage. Then you've got to think about the visa stage if you do pass. You also have to think about if you aren't successful. And this is where a lot of people don't think about, because then you waste time again to appeal, to wait for the appeal and all that as well. So I think if you think about it, if you can get help the first time so you don't have to waste time, then I would go for that, because I've helped so many people with appeals and then resubmission. And it really takes about 6 to 12 months if you do it the first time and you don't do it correctly. I help with a lot of questions that people have. Are they eligible? How do they present their evidence? What is relevant? Who are the experts? How do they show innovation? How do they show leadership? Are they a leader? How much experience? And if they appeal. So all these questions, you know, come into their mind, maybe straight away or during the process. And I help with all that because I've done it so many times as well. You can help, I can help you with your eligibility. So you can go on my website. It's being rebuilt at the moment, so it might look differently, but you can start my eligibility questionnaire and I can help you. Then I will invite you for a free discovery call to have a chat to you. And then from there, I have lots of different packages of support. A lot of people start with my strategy session, and that is really, first off, looking at your career in the last sort of 5 to 7 years. And that's where we plan your application, because this is a massive project. You don't start until you have a plan and strategy and story, and then you can go from there. You can also avail to my membership area as well. I have templates and everything, which I've done over years with my own application and with, you know, my clients' applications as well. But obviously I don't share any of those details, but I provide templates to help you sort of get started and do it yourself if you want to. But my strategy session is where a lot of people start, so they can be confident and be clear about what they want to do, how they want to set out their application. I also offer a review package as well. If you want me just to review before you submit, because I catch anything, I act as the assessor. If you submit your application, that's it. The assessor, you're not giving the assessor any room to ask any questions, whereas I will ask you questions. Once you submit, that's it. Whereas I will look at your application and pick any holes and gaps and get you to refine anything that I feel needs more clarity. My most popular package is my premium bespoke coaching package, and I help you from start to finish in a stage 1 endorsement process. As I said, I don't help with stage 2. That's a very easy process. I can refer you to a solicitor for that, but I do help with stage 1 from start to finish. It is a process and I love doing it the most. It's my most popular package as well. And I also help with appeals. So with my recipient hat and my coaching hat, I've got 2 hats to give you, top tips. I've got loads, but these are the ones that I think will help you the most. This is your chance to tell your unique story. As I said, everyone has a different story. You probably don't know this, but you know, because you have your own story, whereas I've listened to thousands of stories of people, and I can tell which ones, you know, are relevant information that the assessor would want to hear and what to highlight and, you know, and to showcase. Your tech network is extremely important. You need people to support you in this application, and the more people to support you, the better. The assessors aren't only assessing you, they're assessing your experts as well. So your tech network should be large and wide. And if you don't have any, start, you know, start networking. I didn't know anyone in the UK when I moved there, and my networks ended up being so huge because I put so much into my tech community. I met so many people, I helped so many people, and they're willing to help you too. This process is about self-promotion. If you don't self-promote yourself, no one will. And that's a really difficult thing for you to do because, you know, in our culture, in my culture, we don't show off or, you know, say how great we are. But in this application process, you have to, because you can't assume that the assessor is going to see how great you are. You have to tell them how great you are. And this is where I come in, because I get that from my clients. If they're too shy or don't want to say anything, I will write it for them to make sure that, you know, they highlight their achievements, because it's true. It's their work, their achievements. They should highlight it, and I will help with that. Check for any changes to guidelines before submissions. There's a change log in the guidelines, and you have to check that before submission. I do that all the time with my clients, because the technician make changes and then they don't even tell you. So you have to make sure you check that, and contact me sooner rather than later if you need support, because as I said, it's a long process. I'm really busy with lots of clients, so the sooner you contact me, the sooner I can prioritize you, and I can check your application or give you some tips and have a strategy session with you, so that, you know, you don't have any questions or stress, because this is a very stressful process. So I've got lots of channels that you can contact me on, or you can consume some of my content on YouTube. That's where I do a lot of my videos and interview my clients. My website, it's still up and running. It'll be a new one in the next couple of weeks, and you can email me as well. But have a look at my website and you can start the eligibility questionnaire and contact me as well. So I think Chandni has arrived, which is great. I know there's questions, but I'll get to that at the end because I want to interview Chandni as well first. And Chandni is from Mumbai in India, and she's just, we worked together for months and months. And she recently was endorsed, and it was so great working with her, and really enjoyed it. And I actually really miss not working with her anymore. She's successful. She's got a visa, and she's got her wings to fly now. So I'd like to introduce Chandni. If you can share your video and turn off your microphone. I hope your internet is working. There you go. Okay, you have to get off mute.
Hi there, good to see you again. I'm so excited to be doing this.
Oh, so excited. And I'm so happy you came on, because I was saying, I hope you come. I hope your internet issues were resolved.
Yes, just the heavy rains got us a bit in a dizzy, but hopefully no issues today. It's not raining, so I'm really just hoping that everything goes smoothly today. Fingers crossed.
Well, I was just saying earlier to everyone, you may notice that I'm in a different room. I've been having internet issues myself, so now I've rented a meeting room to have the webinar because I was so scared with the internet.
Yes, I see the
Excellent.
new background and
Yes.
looks completely new and different.
Yeah, it's really nice. I quite like this room. Okay, so welcome. And I'd love for you to introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background to the lovely people here. We've got some great people joining us today.
Amazing. Hi everyone. My name is Chandni Davda. I have worked with Shell almost 4 to 5 months to on my global talent visa. A little bit about me. I have been into digital marketing for almost 10 years now. I have worked in Mumbai, and I've also recently completed my master's from Harvard University, which also fortunately my company uh, sponsored me for, and I completed my master's along with working full time. So was definitely a challenge, but now that I'm on the other side, it feels amazing to have accomplished that as well. And I have been in the digital marketing space in the media and entertainment industry. So that's pretty much been uh, like throughout my 10 years of my career, I have stuck to the same space. I have not experimented much. So I've just worked with a lot of big, brands throughout the world in the media and entertainment space, and of course the digital technology sector. So yep, that's me.
So you have a business skill, because I was talking about people with technical or business skill, and you work for a media tech company. So that was really interesting when you came, and you weren't even sure if you were eligible because you were working for a media tech firm. But we'll talk about that in a second. So tell me, why did you decide to apply for the Global Talent Visa? Because you're in Mumbai in India, and what made you to decide?
Well, I had 2 or 3 reasons actually. The number one driving reason was personal. My husband wants to just expand his business in the UK. He's also, always been working, has an export business from India, and he wants to sort of venture out. So that sort of got me thinking as to about my career as well and what could I do. So just the dependent visa, I wanted to sort of explore my opportunities. And of course, while there was the option of going on a skilled worker visa, I came across a global talent visa and I saw the sort of freedom it provides you, and that's what got me thinking. But of course, just like everybody else in the room would have doubts about whether they're eligible. I started at the exact same space because a lot of the criterias are so confusing, because I would just read it and I would be like, yes, that applies to me, and then I would just read the next criteria and be like, okay, that's confusing, I'm not sure if that applies to me or not. So which is why I was just in this turmoil. And but yeah, I did know somewhere at the back of my mind that I could have been eligible for this. In the first read, it pretty much looked like it's only meant for people who are sort of have these international and have done like way more Yeah, I decided to apply for it. Number one, personal reason. Number two, I wanted a lot more freedom than what a skilled worker visa would give me. Number three, I want to really continue working for the same company that I'm with. So yeah, those are my driving forces in considering the visa.
Well, that's really good. And you did mention some of your challenges, because that's my next question is, as I said, it's quite an intimidating process, or even just the guidelines. And so what challenges and hesitations did you have? And then how did you overcome them? I mean, for me, I had no choice. My entrepreneur's visa was expiring in 3 months, and I didn't have time to think, can I apply? I just applied because the other option was for me to go back to Australia, which I didn't want. So what was your challenge and hesitation, and how did you overcome them?
As I mentioned, my initial hesitation was just the fact that the understanding of whether I was eligible for this. And like I said, when I read certain criterias, I would be like, yes, this applies to me. And then the rest, I would just, read them and be so confused. But just because I knew that there were certain criterias that applied to me, I was interested in giving it a shot. Again, because of the fact that it gives you a lot more freedom. And yes, I had a lot of hesitations in the beginning because it really just sounded like you need to be some sort of a world leader or some international leader or somebody way more accomplished to have attained this visa. So there was no help around, to be very honest. If you ask a regular visa agencies that give you visas, they have absolutely no. It is so unique. It is something that is not, information is not available. So I was actually sitting on it for a couple of months, and that's when I came across your Instagram page, and that's where everything that all the questions that I had in my mind, your sort of uh, content addressed exactly that, where I wasn't finding answers. And that's what my drive was my driving force. And a bit, I got a bit more confident that, okay, I think I have the right person to talk to now. And yeah, that was it. And that was my next step of at least understanding what this is all about, and could I have been eligible. So I think after the first conversation with you, it was so crystal clear, and it was just, I had all my doubts at rest. But before that, it was for months. I just had these questions just going around, and but yeah, that's my story of how I started to consider the visa and started working towards it.
Yeah, because I remember, like you said, you were sitting there for months and months and months, and it's almost like being stuck. And then I'm so glad you did. You filled out my eligibility questionnaire, because I remember, and then we had our first chat in the discovery call, and when we talked about the company that you worked for, because again, we had to establish that it was a product-led digital technology company. And it was so clear. And then you gave me some examples, and the more we talked, and the more, you had a couple of leadership type examples, and we started to build your story. I was like, Chandni, of course you are eligible. Of course you can go for this.
Yeah.
You did your master's at in Harvard. You got the top 40 in digital marketing experts, and then you're an author of a book. So
Yeah.
of course, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really good. I'm
Exactly.
pleased. I'm pleased you chose.
I think it
Yeah.
also has to do a lot with, yeah, I think it's just also got a lot to do with, even after accomplishing a lot, you still see other people's accomplishments, and then you think, maybe you have a long way to go. But yeah, I would just urge anyone watching this that even if you feel like 20% confident, just go ahead and apply. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad you did. Okay, so let's talk about your experts, because, as I said, that your tech network is so important. And, I guess I don't want you to tell who your experts were, but let's talk about how we chose your experts. And if you can share some of the examples and the things that we talked about and your relationship with them, and who we kind of chose at the end, the type of people.
Yeah. So my process was I followed your gathered list of people that I had worked with in the past, and who did have the right kind of profile to recommend me. And then of course I also made a list of people who remotely could make it to that list. And yeah, I had a few people. And again, there was, even though I had great relationships with them, there's always a hesitation to ask someone, for a favor. But I think today, in today's day and age of social media and LinkedIn, where it's so easy to keep in touch with your colleagues, where you, can engage with their life updates, or just say a quick hello. It's very important, and I think I have that in my nature, just by default. I love keeping in touch with my my colleagues, my seniors, or even somebody who had an on that account company. Just because of the fact that I had some sort of like a good enough relationship with them, I felt like, okay, the worst that can happen is they'll say no, and that's it. You could just pick up somebody else as your expert, who recommends you. So that was my approach towards it. I simply just, and of course the criteria does say that there should be people in leadership positions who recommend you, but I also had somebody who were not completely in leadership positions, who were like upper managerial positions, and their recommendation also worked. It really depends on how good a story can they tell about you, and how impressive a story can they tell about you. So yep, that's how I went about choosing the people that recommended me. And uh they also had to be like, just informed as to what this is, and then just give them the canvas to talk about what is it that they want to talk about you. That's it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's really specific as well. Like, as I said, the assessors not only assessing you, but they're assessing your experts. So we had to Google all your experts and make sure that they were credible experts as well. They could be contacted if necessary. But, during our strategy session, we had a list of them. And unfortunately, we had to rank them and kind of like, just say like, okay, what are they going to say about you? What story is it? Is it going to corroborate with some of the evidence that you were going to have? So it was a process, but I'm glad we chose the people that we did. It was and it was quite interesting. It wasn't just all people that you worked with directly at your job. It was other people as well, which is really important. You want to have a well-balanced application. It's not just a job application. It's about you in the last 5 to 10 years of your career, and you have to still maintain that relationship with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So let's talk about the criteria, because there's 5 criteria. We select 3. So there's that we discussed as well, like which criteria should you choose, and then what evidence should we put up against them.
Yeah, this part I would say was the absolutely most confusing part. I think the rest of the parts I could still understand by myself and could guess what is required, but this was extremely confusing, because and that's when I said thank God for Michelle, because it was so like I knew that I had some content to show in the leadership part of it. Leadership is mandatory in the innovation part of it. And you said, let's not touch innovation because it's a bit harder to convince the assessors, and maybe innovation is very, very subjective. Something that could have been innovative for you may not necessarily be considered as innovative to the assessors. So that's when it was a very eye-opening sort of information for me, because I was so confident and I was like, yeah, I've innovated and I had these things to prove it. But then you sort of nudged me into another direction, and then once we did pick up other criteria that was stronger than something like an innovation, it worked wonders. And I realized how much more I had to say, and what a more powerful story I had in the other criteria, which is not innovation. So I would say that it was it criteria, because in every criteria you could say, okay, I could say this and I could say this and I could say that, but what is the most powerful thing to say, and what is the aspect that is going to build very strongly towards your story, is something that was massively helpful with your coaching.
Yeah, I think so. And again, it depends on, obviously your evidence. I can quickly tell when someone should choose particular criteria. And even though, you were considering innovation, I went right into the nitty-gritty of the criteria of innovation and the types of things you would need to prove. And you went, maybe I don't have that. Let's
Absolutely.
try this criteria. And then, we go through all the criteria and then think about the evidence and then decide, okay, which is the strongest? Because my job is to de-risk your application. I can't guarantee endorsement, no one can, but what I can do is put forward a strong application and de-risk your application as much as possible. And you were very strong in the proof of recognition criteria. You didn't realize you had so much evidence. And your optional criteria 3 was the impact, significant commercial contributions. You had so much on that. So yeah, it was a dream. Like, I think it just clicked. I think when you talk about things and look at the evidence, everything kind of clicks into place, and then we were ready to go. Right, let's get started.
Yeah, I believe things like these don't come up till you visit it a couple of times and brainstorm on it, because I know for sure that if had I sat by myself and started to think about it, it would not have evolved in such a beautiful way, the way it did after our after our sessions. So yeah, definitely the criteria part is very confusing, and I'm so glad that we had those discussions to iron out all the information and then just information that made sense to the application.
Yeah. And I think a big part of your application was structuring all the evidence, because you gave me the content. I could see the content, but then when I started to move things around and make it look really good and really powerful and put boxes here, like, I love making things clear and look good, because as I said, someone has to read this and you have to make it as easy as possible and as visually appealing as possible. Because when you look at your application, you're so proud of it. It looks really good.
100%. I couldn't agree more. That's the best feeling ever.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of it, you're like, I can't believe I have done so much. It's very much like doing a PhD on your career, right? As you keep saying, it's like you have to just go back into the 10 years of all the amazing work that you have done. Some of it you may have forgotten, and some of it you may have to sleep over a couple of days and keep remembering. And then one just remember I actually did something like this like 4 years ago or 5 years ago. So you just want to make sure that you're adding everything that you have done, and yeah, it doesn't come till you have this entire process of like first digging out the information and then keeping everything in front of you, and then just being confused by what you pick out of it, and then the feeling of overwhelm, or also when you're like when you have so much like information in front of you, but yeah, it sort of has a beginning, a middle, and an ending, and the ending is always so good.
Yeah. Just quickly, someone was asking, why we talk about 10 years, but they only want the last 5. Well, it forms part of your story, is obviously because Chandni had 10 years experience. So we wanted to go back to the beginning and kind of see where the trends were, because this process about what you've done in the past and then what you're going to be doing in the future. So yes, you're right. It's the last 5 years, but I like to go a little bit further back, because this is why Chandni is a pioneer. She started in that media tech industry when it was in its infancy 10 years ago. So this is when I said, Chandni, you're a pioneer. You started right when it was happening. So this is why you're a pioneer.
Yeah.
So this is why I need to know this stuff so that we can build that story. Yeah. Okay, I hope that makes sense.
And I would just add that, because we said that it's almost like a PhD on like everything that you have done in your career, to sort of prove that what you've done in the last 5 years. You of course need to show hard evidence of what you've done in the last 5 years, but when you show evidence of the last 5 years, and when you just mention your story of, say, the previous 5 years, they
Yeah.
know the context as well. Like
Yeah.
if I won an award in the second year of, say the best newcomer in the industry, or something like,
Yeah.
I don't have that, I'm just like giving a hypothetical example. But and then if I want like a 40 under 40, it's sort of like they can backtrack and they know where it all started from, and where
Yeah.
my thing was. And I always thought that towards the end of the process, my feeling was that now, even if I don't end up getting this visa, which is very rare, especially if you work so hard, there's strong chance you will get it, then you will not. But I just felt like even if I don't end up getting the visa, I'm going to still end up feeling so good about the fact that I have gathered and I have sort of gone back into my entire timeline of my career, and it could just, you may never know, it could help you somewhere else. But yeah, I also started to look at this entire process a bit detached from the visa, where your end trophy is not just the visa, but there's so much more that you can take from the entire process. Does felt like the main goal, but there's a lot that you get out of it, apart from the visa as well.
Oh, that's really nice. And I'm so glad you did get a lot more out of it. And I'm glad you did, because that is part of my coaching as well, is to highlight your achievements. Yes, the visa is the end goal, but I'm really interested in your own personal development. What have you done? What do you want to do? What do you want to do more? So yeah, I'm so pleased that you got to take more away from this. And I'm actually really interested in what you're going to do next. Like, I love that I helped you with the visa, but I'm still interested in your career. So let's, I know we're running out of time, but let's just talk about timelines. When did you, obviously the announcement came when we were working on your visa and everyone was a bit worried. I told you not to worry because we were kind of right at the end anyway. We were going to submit way before the 31st of March, which they were saying that was going to close. So yeah, when did you apply for your endorsement, and when did you get it, and when did you apply for your visa, and when did you get it? Because we worked with each other for like 4 or 5 months. As I said, the prep process, it takes longer than obviously the decision time for you anyway.
Yeah. So yes, I did have a bit of um a bit of a worry when I read the news, but of course, because I was working with you, and I pretty much understood that I need to worry only when you tell me to worry. And because you told me not to worry, I was like, yeah, okay, I can trust Michelle. And because I was also in the last stages of preparing my application, and that was just it. Like I all I did was just sped up my application. Like if I was maybe just procrastinating on last 5 or 10% of it, I just went a bit far on that. Then yeah, I just knew that I would be ready. And I also remember you kept saying that like even if Technician does close down, or they are not working with them anymore, it looks unlikely that Global Talent will discontinue. So I think that was also something that you assured not just me, but like a lot of your clients through your news, like through your newsletters. And yeah, so I was pretty much not worried after I heard it from you. But yes, I sped up my application. I submitted it, and within just 8 days I got my decision. I would say 7 days, but I'm saying 8 because it was in the middle of the night when I got my answer at like 3 in the morning, and I remember not sleeping the entire night out of excitement. So yeah, I would say about 7 to 8 days is when I got my. And because I just personally had some documents to collect for the stage 2 visa. I took some time, but after I applied for the stage 2, also I got my visa within like 9 days of applying for stage 2 as well. So it was a very, very quick process. I did not really have to be nervous a lot. I would say just 1 week of being nervous during stage 1 and another week of being nervous during stage 2. But of course, stage 1 was the main one, so I was a bit more nervous then. Stage 2 was just sort of like a formality, and you sort of want to believe it till you have it in your hand. And that was the
Yeah.
only thing that
Yeah.
I pretty much knew that I had it, but till you have it in your hand, you don't want to sort of,
Yeah.
like jump the ship and start telling like the world about it. So yeah, that was it. I was just waiting for my final visa to come in, and it was pretty quick. Yes.
I was shocked. Like, I know that, like my clients do receive a quicker response, but not all of them, but usually around 3 to 4 weeks. But when you came back in 8 days, because I don't contact anyone, I just wait to hear from them. And you just sent me the email and I was like, 8 days, that was so quick. And that was just amazing. I think you got it even before. Yeah, did you get it before Tech Nation, actually the 31st of March? You got it before the deadline anyway.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Really, yeah, no, that was really good. I love talking about, the success rate and also, the time. Okay, so now everything is fine. Now that you've been through the process, and a lot of, some of my clients have been through the process twice, but luckily you only needed to go through it once. What's your advice to people now that you've gone through this process? I spoke to you, gosh, last year, didn't I? End of last year. Yeah, I remember.
We started talking in October last year.
Yeah.
Yes, the advice that I would give anybody who's in the same was last year in October is that number one, it is like, I would just say that don't doubt yourself in the beginning, even if you have a 20% doubt, or even if at the back of your head you think, I think I am eligible for this. Don't stay in that phase for a long time. Don't just say, I think I should, or whatever. Just get to action at the earliest. I just regret wasting a lot of time because I did not really know what to be the next steps, but I just got lucky with, like, Michelle's ad popping up on my feed, and that's when I was like, okay, I think this person knows so much about this visa, I need to ask this person. So yeah, do not wait around, because it takes almost about 3 months to this entire process, from getting your entire facts of your career together. Number two, I would say that um trust in Michelle. Like, I don't really want to sound too much about, like, like like I'm all about Michelle, but unfortunately, I am all about Michelle right now. So I just feel like, had she not been there, it would have been so difficult, or who knows, I may not have even taken the plunge, or even made that application. So it was so important to have a coach. It was so important to have somebody as calm, collected, knowledgeable, and somebody who's been through it so many times. And yes, I was a bit skeptical, and I was like, is this fees a little too much, which I wasn't prepared for, because we don't really come from a culture of hiring a coach to get you from point A to point B. You're always told, you should be smart enough to do it by yourself. But I would just say that in this case, I would not consider as the fees as an expense. It was an investment, and it's the best investment that I could have ever made. That gave me so much of peace of mind. It gave me so much of time to focus on my work, on my full-time job as well, not get overwhelmed by the process, and all, of course, get a lot of reassurance with the news coming in of, like, say, Tech Nation closing down, or there are all these negative news in the in the media. So you want to have somebody knowledgeable who can assure you and be like, okay, I know this is factual and you can ignore this. So that was also really, really helpful. And yeah, just the fact that you also have somebody who can guide you like a friend, and not just somebody who's interested in a transactional relationship, that just made it a lot better. So yeah, that is the advice I have for the watching this.
Thank you so much. That's really nice of you to say. And as I said, I really do care. Like, I love all my clients. I love all their stories, and I want them to get their visa, but at the same time, I want you to, succeed in your career. And I, all the chats that we have, it's because I genuinely want to hear about, your last 5 to 10 years, but also I'm listening for clues to put in your application as well. It's not,
Correct.
it's for my own knowledge, as well as for your application. And I'd like you to talk freely. It's not, as I said, a transaction for me. It's a relationship building. And and I hope that we continue our relationship past this. I want to know what's going to happen in the UK for you.
I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, definitely. So what does this visa mean for you and your family, and what are your exciting plans now, before I finish up with any questions?
Yeah, okay, what it means for me and my family, I only found out after I got the visa. So before that, everybody also wants to uh, play a bit safe and tell you stuff. Okay, get it, it's okay if you don't get it, and everybody's like, you're just getting a potential reaction, but after you get the visa, it's a lot more tangible, it's a lot more real, and that's when you get the real feelings. And my entire family is ecstatic, my husband's family is ecstatic. They just can't wait for us to start our new lives together. It just changes your entire life planning, like what you could do in your country to versus a new place with like more exciting opportunities. So it definitely means a lot. And I think at this point it is at par with me getting a Harvard degree. So I would just say the happiness is equally as strong. And like, and I also feel proud that I've done this not just for me, but for my family and my husband and my husband's family and all of that. So there's just so many lives that that you're affecting by just working so hard just for like the 3 months. So it just feels like it was absolutely worth it towards the end of it.
So it sounds like you did a master's at Harvard and you've done a
Yeah.
PhD. I'm sorry, I can't give you a PhD, but like, you know what, you got the visa.
After this, I do not intend on studying anymore. Just saying. I'm done.
I'm sorry to tell you, but there is one more test. There's one more test, and that's the Life in the UK test.
Well, there's some time for that. I'm gonna deal with it when it comes. For now, I'm gonna enjoy this phase
enjoy
that I'm
that
in
process.
and take it all in and be happy about it.
Yes, no, the Life in UK test, it will come up, but you don't have to do that for another 3 years. But it's a fun test to do. Well, it's kind of fun, but it's an interesting test. But yeah, no, I'm so pleased for you and your family. I love knowing that, not only do I help the applicant, which is you, but just seeing the knock-on effect for your families. And that's it. It makes me, it makes my purpose, even stronger. Not just impacting you, but I'm impacting your family and your extended family as well. So, so you'll be moving to the UK soon, which is exciting.
Yes, very soon, in a couple of weeks.
Oh, exciting. I'm so excited for you. Oh, thank you so much, Chandni. It's really lovely to see you. I mean, just looking at you from, October to now, completely different person. I mean, obviously you're a very similar person, but just seeing, your confidence, you're shining, you've got, the world is your oyster now. Who knows? It may not stop in the UK. You may set your sights on other countries next.
For now, we're
For
happy
now,
with what we
UK.
have.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. Thank you so much. I know we're just a bit over time, but if anyone's got any questions, please pop in the chat because I'm going to quickly go through them. Cybersecurity specialist, yes, that is a list under the technical skills. Again, you could be eligible. I'm pretty sure you are, but again, it depends on if you're working for a product-led digital technology company. So that's absolutely fine. Just if you want to see my eligibility, then yeah, I can have a look. And then another question, working as a freelancer or contractor, that's a gray area. It's not an employee. What they want in the guidelines is an employee of a product-led digital technology company. So yeah, I'd need to have a look at your CV and tease it out with you. So if you wanted to contact me, I can have a look at that for you. I think, okay, any more questions? Okay, someone's on a skilled worker. Yes, skilled worker visa, time counts from the skilled worker visa going over to the global talent only if you switch. I'm not sure what happens if you have to go back to your own country and you no longer have the skilled worker visa. So that may be an immigration question. But for those people who I'm helping at the moment, they're on a skilled worker right now. It's still valid. And when they've got the global talent and they're just switching over and the time counts because there's been no break. So if there is a break, that's where I think you may have to talk to a solicitor for that. So I hope that's okay. Yeah, so Ian, you've asked a question about your videos didn't get a lot of viewers. You're going to have to, yeah, promote it or get more viewers or something like that. So yeah, I don't know. I think getting more subscribers, getting lots of viewership, make more content, because for me, I know anyway, when I create content on YouTube, the more content you create, the more YouTube will promote it for you as well. So all my content is all organic. People watch my videos, but then when the video ends, YouTube recommend more of my videos because I keep producing more videos. So that's how YouTube works. And maybe have a look at doing more videos and putting out more content. That's got nothing to do with visa, but that's something that I've learned in creating content. This is how I started as well. I created a blog on Google, on my website, and then Google picked it up, and that's how my blog went viral. I didn't promote it or anything, but it's just because the content was so good, people were reading it, consuming it. Yeah, if anyone wants to complete my eligibility questionnaire, please do, because there's a link that you can put for your LinkedIn profile. Please have your LinkedIn profile current, so I can have a look at it. It's like your CV, so make sure your LinkedIn is current so I can have a look at your background before I invite you for a discovery call. Does anyone have any questions for Chandni? Because she's here and she's not going to be here for much longer. So otherwise, I'm going to leave it here. Chandni, do you want to come and say bye? She's disappeared, but now if she comes back. Yeah, here we go. You didn't have to disappear. You could stay on. You could answer the questions since you're an expert now.
Well, happy to answer any questions.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to reach out to me and ask questions, I'm happy to answer them as well. Since
Thank
you're short of time right now. But
yeah.
yep, I really do hope that you'll have taken some inspiration from our conversation, and I hope that you do have the confidence to just go out there and just try at least, because it's definitely worth a try.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're very busy and you've got lots to do. Hang on, we've got one more. And if everyone can, Chandni Pragati is asking you, how did you choose to work with me and what package?
Okay, so I chose initially I saw the number of packages that Michelle was offering, and they were all very, very good, especially for somebody who is a bit crunched on budgets and stuff. So, of course, like I mentioned earlier, I was never used to spending the kind of money for coaching it, as you know, especially because we did not really have it. You always told you're supposed to do it by yourself. Initially, I was strongly contemplating on taking Michelle's just the package where she has all the documents templatized for you, and I thought that I would work with that. But then the more I read about the global talent visa, the more I was getting confused, and I realized I have a full-time job. I was not able to give it the kind of time and energy that I could have, with the like, for example, in her first package, which is just just read the templates, which is of course a great option if you think that, I mean, it's equally helpful if you have a lot of time on hand and if you have a lot of patience and you think you are confident about what the criteria is, and if you want to give it a shot, then definitely yes, all the packages are brilliantly put together. But I went for her absolute bespoke package, which was like helping me from, like, hand holding me from start to finish. And I'm very glad I did that, because every time I had any sort of questions, I could, have them answered each week, versus taking a package where you would get access to her maybe just once or twice or 3 times, I think, process. So I was just very glad that I had access to every week, because every week I had a new confusion and a new challenge that I was facing. So I chose to save my time, have a lot of peace, and of course have more access to Michelle, because she's like a gold mine of information. And the more I like, and I mean, every week I had 10 questions to ask her. So that's why I went to the, for the absolute premium package, where I had access to her. I'll be very honest, it was not very easy for me to to make a budget for it, because I was really thrown off my budget. But like I said, uh like after having gone through this entire process, it feels more like an investment than an expense. So if anybody who's on the fence, I would just say, and has a full-time job, and wants to save a lot of time and wants the sort of ease of mind during the entire process, her uh, uh package
He's also asking for finer challenges. I know you talked about your challenges, but the finer detailed challenges you ran into.
Well, I would just say that the challenges mainly were only in the beginning, which is sort of like the mindset part of it. I was not in a strong mindset. So again, a third person coming in and telling you, look, you can do this, goes a long way. So that was a huge thing. My second final challenge was really just reaching out to people for recommendations, because me as a person, I hate asking people for favors, and especially when it is something this significant. So yeah, I did, like, no matter how how much of an amazing relationship you have with your like past colleagues that you've worked with, there's always a hesitation in asking them for help. And that was my challenge. And sort of but once went past through that, once I developed my initial, I reached out to them and I saw how positive they were. So I would say that they will always, you might be surprised how positively they'll respond, because I was thinking of the worst. I was like, okay, they'll say they don't have time, or they will think about it and not come back to me. So I would say that these two are the major challenges. Rest, everything is logistics. If you think that you have enough information, you can if you think you have enough information and time, you can just get through everything. But then the two major things for me were, first, the mindset, which having a coach or having somebody, a third person, to tell you that you're right, you're wrong, or do this and do that, goes a long way. And second is just a sort of embarrassment. I don't know if I should call it an embarrassment. Like initially, it was like, oh my god, how am I going to do this? And I feel so bad asking someone. But if you can just get past that, then it's all good.
Yeah, it is. I think it is mindset, because you're constantly questioning yourself. And having someone, obviously, I didn't have that person to go, yep, keep going. I was going back and forth in my mind. Am I doing this right? Are they going to accept this? And as you say, every session we had, I ticked like, yes, no, we went through all your
Yeah,
questions and
it
we could move
almost it
forward.
almost felt like Michelle was the global talent visa Google, and every question I threw at her, she had the right answer. And Google does not throw the right answers at you, just by the way. When I Googled information, there was all kind of rubbish information coming up. That's also because of the fact that not many people know about this visa, and not many people know how to go about this visa. It's just recently that help is available to maneuver this category. I'll also just mention that when I went for my visa application, the visa center, which processes hundreds and thousands of applications each week, each day, did not know what the global talent visa was. Like, they were so confused, and they're like, wait, is it a tourist visa? Is it a skilled worker visa? What visa is this? So you can imagine how niche this category is, and the category being this niche, and then finding the right kind of help in this category is just, I mean, if you're watching this, you've just come to the right place, is what I would say.
Oh, Thank you. That's really interesting that you're saying the visa people don't. When I went through customs with my card, they asked me what talent did I have, because it had said exceptional talent visa. And I was like, I was embarrassed, but then should I joke with customs? No, I couldn't joke with customs. And one of my one of my other clients said the same. He said, customs asked him, what's your special talent? And he said, dancing or something. And he said, no, I better not joke with customs. But yeah, no one knows. And they're asking you this question and you're like, yeah, it's in digital tech. Like, yeah, no one knows about this visa. So yeah, it is true. It is very niche. And yeah, I'm so glad that I got it. And I'm so glad that I'm helping so many people get it as well, because, you know, I've been doing this for, gosh, since 2016. Since it came out. So yeah, it hasn't changed that much, but it has had so many iterations over the years, and I know all the changes it's had and why they've done it. But yeah, it's very different from when I started, but I've been able to keep abreast of all the changes over the years. It's been quite nice to be a part of that. So Pragati, thank you so much for your comment. I hope if everyone has can find an emoji in the chat, and congratulate Chandni for securing the visa, and also for coming on today. If we can see some love hearts, some clapping, some thumbs up, I would love to see it pop up, because that, you know, we can't see you, but we can see emojis, and I can see some already. If anyone can, yeah, start sharing the, oh, there we go. I love seeing these emojis pop up on the screen. So thank you so much for coming, and thank you again, Chandni, for sharing your story. As I said, not everyone shares their story, and it makes it really hard for other people to follow suit and to look up to you as a role model, because, you know, as I said, you know, people from Nigeria, Pakistan, India, they have the lowest endorsement rate. So it's really nice to see, you know, a representation, especially also from a woman in tech, achieve such great things for her husband, for her family, and everything. So I'm going to leave it here. You can catch up on my recording from tomorrow. I'm going to be sending out a newsletter by tomorrow, maybe today if I have time. And I will also announce my next webinar and person who I'll be interviewing in 2 weeks' time. So thank you again, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Chandni. I really appreciate it. And I will speak to you soon.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.